Everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And as promised, I said I was going to come back with a video on the life and legacy of DMX, whose birth name is Earl Simmons, because there were people who had commented on my previous videos about the heart attack that he has suffered and the fact that he is on life support, who sent out their prayers to him and the family, but said that they really didn't know who he was or much about his music. And then I thought it was interesting that when I was at my mom's house for Easter dinner, my sister, who's a few years older than I am, said, I've heard the name before, but what does he sing? Like, I'm trying to get a visual. And all I could think about was that song by DMX, What You Want From a Blank, where he starts naming off all those women that he has had relationships with. And the first name is Brenda, okay? And my sister's name is Brenda, but I didn't reference that song to her. I just started saying, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. And then she kind of vaguely remembered the song. So let's go ahead and jump into this because my notes are extensive. Okay, so we want to get through this as quickly as possible. So just imagine being a 6-year-old and your mother beating you with a broom and knocking out 2 of your teeth, or being a 14-year-old and someone you called a mentor and as a big brother laced the joint with crack. These are 2 stories that describe the troubling beginnings of rapper DMX, who was born Earl Simmons. And so DMX was hospitalized in grave condition late Friday, April 2nd, 2021, following a heart attack at his New York home. So days before his medical emergency, he was seen on a video and grooving along to Michael Jackson's This Place Hotel, which is also referred to as Heartbreak Hotel. And he's in the car with his fiancee, Desiree Lindstrom, and another man, and he just seemed happy. He didn't seem to have any issues, and no one could have imagined what was going to take place a few days later. On this past Monday, April 5th, hundreds of people, including family, friends, and fans, gathered to pray and offer support to DMX as he remained hospitalized following a heart attack he suffered on Friday. CNN affiliate News 12 reported that as many as 500 people gathered outside the White Plains, New York hospital where the rapper and actor is currently being treated. His longtime attorney, Murray Richmond, confirmed to CNN Sunday that DMX had suffered a heart attack around 11 p.m. on Friday at his home in White Plains and was taken via ambulance to a local hospital. Richmond said then that the artist was on a ventilator. The attorney said he did not know what may have caused the rapper to have a heart attack. However, Simmons reportedly had to be revived 3 times due to cardiac arrest, which doctors believe was triggered by an overdose. A source close to the family said he was revived twice in his home and once again at the hospital, but there seems to be little change in his condition. Among those in the crowd at the vigil were his fiancée Desiree, his ex-wife Tashira Simmons, who he has 4 kids with, Yadira Borrego, who he has children with as well, as some of his kids, including his sons Xavier and Exodus, along with the support outside the hospital. Workers on the inside have also joined in on the spirit of the event by standing in the windows holding up the X sign. And so the vigil closed out with a recording of a prayer by DMX. And if those of you who are fans of DMX know that, whenever he had a show, he always prayed, before and after the concert. And I believe he has some prayers on some of his CDs and albums that he has put out throughout the years. Following the vigil, a DMX EP has appeared on Australian Spotify entitled A Dog's Prayer, but only one musical track, the Prayer 5. The other songs are DMX reciting prayers. It's released by Def Jam according to the credits, and they are a compilation of his prayers off his studio albums and include Prayer Skit is Dark and Hell is Hot, Prayer 3, and then there was X, Prayer 4, The Great Depression, and Prayer 5, Grand Champ. This information comes from Hip Hop by the Numbers, which is a account on Twitter, and they may have a bigger platform, but this information came from their Twitter page. And so Monday night's prayer vigil is just the latest showing of love for the rapper. Members of the Rough Riders motorcycle crew rolled up to the hospital Sunday to pay tribute, and several hospital staff members held their own little vigil Sunday evening. DMX's kids began arriving Monday to visit their father. It's reported that each had a private moment with him. His fiancée Desiree and his mother have been with him since the entire weekend since he was hospitalized. And so DMX is reported to have at least 15 children, and I'm not sure how many were present or if they all were able to get there and to spend time with him and be a part of the vigil. So on yesterday, which was Wednesday, April 7th, because we don't know when people are going to actually see this, he underwent a series of tests, which according to sources showed that there has been no improvement in brain activity since he was first rushed to the hospital on Friday, April 2nd. DMX is still in a coma, and sources have said the test results were, quote, not good. Now the family has to decide if they want to explore any remaining medical options or remove him from life support. So having experienced, my father, and I think I shared this in another video, had a massive stroke. It was a series of strokes that he had over the years. But on the final stroke, he ended up on life support. And to me, it was a blessing and a curse. A blessing because, we had the opportunity, to talk to him and to say goodbye. And I said I wasn't going to cry and say goodbye, and there really is no medical proof as to whether or not, the person can hear you. So you just hope and pray in your heart that they do hear you in there talking to them and saying the things that you want to say and letting them know that you love them and, how they impacted your life. So I remember spending the night with my dad, praying and holding his hand, and I was awakened, I fell asleep, and I was awakened like 3 o'clock in the morning, and his thumb was like rubbing up against my hand. And so, but I was telling people about it, like, he's still with us. He knows what's going on. The doctors claim that it was just a reflex, but I believe in my heart, that my dad was letting me know that he was ready to go and that, everything was going to be okay. And so the reason I say that it is a curse is because despite, your loved one's condition or chances for recovery, you feel as if you're playing God, by saying, okay, well, we're going to turn off, the life support. And plus you always feel like if you hold on just a little while longer, that there's still hope and that, there is a medical miracle out there that is going to save your loved one. So I would not want to be in the family's shoes right now, because I can tell you there are people, that are telling them, just let go, just turn off the machine, that nothing is going to happen. He's not going to improve, while others want to wait and they want to hold out hope. And then it'll probably become even more tricky, if he didn't have a will, or the document. I can't think of the name of it right now, but there's a document where you can say that, you don't want your life prolonged if there's no medical, no treatment out there that's going to reverse your condition. And then, the fact that he wasn't married, but he was engaged, who gets the final decision if there's nothing in writing? And so his mom is still alive, but he's an adult man. So I believe it may go to the children. In my case, my mom was still alive, so she made the decision that they were going to take him off life support. And the other reason I believe my dad knew what was going on, and I told you guys in the previous video, was that I had left to go take a shower and to change my clothes, and we were going to turn off the life support at 7 o'clock, and this was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I get almost home when my aunt called and said, you need to come back because his vitals are dropping. And so I did get back in time, but, God took him, without us having to. I'm sorry, guys. Turn off the life support. And it's just been hard. I'm a really big fan of DMX, and it's been hard for me covering this because of the similarities. I mean, my dad wasn't on drugs. He was just a man that had hypertension and diabetes, and for the life of him, couldn't give up soul food. Okay, but anyway, just knowing what the family is going through right now, it takes me back to that time. So, moving right along here. So in addition to the Vigil in New York that took place on Sunday night and Monday night, prayers by celebrities across social media platforms have been coming in. DMX recently spent time recording at Latitude Studio South in Lapier's Fork in Franklin, Tennessee. And so the studio owners and staff asked for prayers for DMX's recovery. And so the Nashville Predators, a national hockey team, also sent well wishes to the rapper, whose 1999 hit Party Up in Here is the official song of the Predators power play. And so over the weekend, a statement was released from his representatives seeking well wishes for him and stating, on behalf of DMX's family, we are asking everyone to include him in your prayers. His condition has not changed. He's in a coma and on a ventilator at this time, the statement read. The family appreciates all of the love and prayers from everyone around the world. The family will update everyone as we are updated. Otherwise, please respect the family's privacy at this time. And so according to News 12, police had to block off the street after a crowd gathered for the prayer vigil for the artist who grew up in Yonkers and who over the years has given back to the community by feeding residents on Thanksgiving and donating to the local community center he attended as a youth. The 50-year-old rapper was rushed to White Plains Hospital from his nearby home around 11 p.m. Friday. His longtime attorney, Mary Richmond, told NBC New York. And Richmond described the rapper's condition as grave, but said he didn't know what precipitated the heart attack. So early Saturday morning, TMZ and Variety reported the heart attack DMX suffered was caused by a drug overdose. One source told TMZ his doctors cautioned that he may not make it. And so the native New Yorker made headlines last summer when he appeared in a versus battle in July with Snoop Dogg. He'd also reportedly been working on a new album following his release from prison for tax fraud. The rapper completed a 12-month stint in prison and was released in January of 2019. DMX has shared his struggles with addiction in the past. In late 2019, he took to Instagram to announce he checked himself into rehab again and subsequently canceled a series of performances. And I shared with you guys that in the coming months, I think starting in May, he had several appearances and concerts planned. And, maybe just the rigors of, staying relevant, staying active, being out there on the tour, is one of the reasons why he wasn't able to, to shake his drug addiction, and led to him having this heart attack. Because, once you use drugs, you're damaging your vital organs. And we don't know what type of drugs he allegedly used, but if it was crack cocaine will tear your heart up, deteriorate the heart, and it is common for people to suffer massive heart attacks who are addicted to crack cocaine. And in 2013, DMX appeared on Iyanla Van Zant's Fix My Life. The episode made headlines when the show went so badly that the rapper told her to shut the F up, and then stormed out the set and later threatened to sue her. But years later, DMX would apologize and ask for a second chance at mediation with Iyanla Van Zant. So when asked about the failed interview, Van Zant would later say that Earl, that's what I call him, that's his birth name, referring to DMX. And the last thing I said to him was, quote, "You will never have the opportunity to speak to me again." But that was before I realized that I had failed him. So Iyanla recognized that she really was not equipped, to do that intervention. It's one thing to talk to people that are having family problems, but if you are not trained in drug addiction, then you can't be trying to help nobody. His whole life, has been a struggle, and he's been through so much, and he uses the drugs to cope with whatever he's dealing with. And so Iyanla, admitted that she was not the one that should have been trying to help him. So at the time, the rapper was set to be released from prison after serving 10 months for tax evasion on the notorious episode of Iyanla Fix My Life on the OWN network. And apparently strung out, DMX flew into a rage as his son Xavier and Van Zant tried to talk to him about his drug problems. He later told TMZ, "Iyanla set the whole thing up to make me look bad for ratings," adding, "The lady is toxic. My last words to her were that she can suck my D, and she still can." And then in a later interview, Iyanla said that, as she was gearing up for a new season of Fix My Life, she was asked about the DMX interview, and she said, "I failed him by not following the Holy Ghost to do what I'm supposed to do. I did what the show's production team wanted. I had a very clear path for every single guest, and I failed him." And so in October of that year, on a Sunday, a photo of the 48-year-old rapper was posted on his Instagram account. In the image's caption, DMX's team confirmed that he was seeking inpatient care. In a statement, his team said, "In his ongoing commitment to putting family and sobriety first, DMX has checked himself into a rehab facility. He apologizes for his canceled shows and thanks his fans for their continued support." The New York City native was previously scheduled to perform at a 3-6 Mafia reunion concert in Memphis on Sunday and at Day 2 of Rolling Loud in New York on Sunday. Both performances have been canceled, with the Yin Yang Twins replacing DMX at the Tennessee events. And this was several years ago, following the aftermath of the whole Iyanla Van Zant situation. And I think it was like several years later, because he's had several stints in rehab. So let's talk about his early life. So he was born Earl Simmons and known professionally as DMX. He was born on December 18th, 1970 in Mount Vernon, New York. He was raised by his mother, Arnett Simmons, who gave birth to him when she was 19 years old. When Simmons was 5 years old, his family relocated to Yonkers, New York. He was brought up in the Jehovah's Witness community and had a difficult childhood. He was abused by his mother and her boyfriends. Simmons was kicked out of school in 5th grade and he was sent to the Julia Dickman Andrews Children's Home for more than a year. He returned to another boys' home years later as a teenager. It was at that time that Simmons began writing hip-hop music and performing for his friends. Simmons eventually met local rapper Reddy Ron. He admired Simmons' beatboxing skills and the two became partners. Simmons then assumed the name DMX, which was inspired by an instrument, the Oberman DMX drum machine. He would play at the boys' home. Later, the pseudonym would also be interpreted as Darkman X. Disability life expert Ola Wiyumi, and I might be pronouncing that wrong, shared in her February 2020 Disabled Black History thread on Twitter about DMX that he lives with bipolar disorder, was hit by a drunk driver as a child, suffered severe childhood bronchial asthma and left him hospitalized almost nightly, and substance abuse. DMX has been honest about his drug abuse. He says he had a responsibility not to glorify or glamorize his drug use in his music. Surprisingly, drug addiction is considered a disability under the American Disability Act, and addiction is often a result of untreated mental illness. There is an inextricable link between drug addiction and child abuse. 2/3 of people in treatment for drug abuse grew up in an abusive household. DMX is a survivor of child abuse, which undoubtedly influenced his music as an artist. And then have you ever wondered why DMX imitates dog barks and growls in his music? And according to her, as a kid, he found comfort in befriending stray dogs as he roamed the streets of Yonkers at night to escape brutal child abuse at the hands of his mother and her boyfriends. Now we move on to how he found success. DMX's rap career took off in the late 1990s. His debut album is Dark and Hell is Hot, which was released in 1998, was met with both critical acclaim and commercial success, and sold 251,000 copies within its first week. To date, the album has sold more than 5 million copies. His best-selling album, And Then There Was X, which was released in 1999, came just 1 year later on December 21st of 1999. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard's 200 and was certified 6-time platinum. Among the popular tracks on the album is Party Up, Up in Here, one of DMX's biggest hit singles and his first top 10 hit on the R&B charts. His other popular singles include Rough Riders Anthem from 1998, What's My Name, 1999, X Gon' Give It To You, 2003, and Where the Hood At in 2003. In total, DMX has released 7 studio albums. His most recent album is Undisputed, which was released on September 11, 2012. The album received mixed reviews from music critics, and it debuted at number 19 on the Billboard 200, selling 17,000 copies. Over the course of his career, DMX has sold over 70 million albums worldwide to date. DMX won American Music Awards in 2000 and 2001 for Favorite Rap Hip Hop Artist. He has also been nominated for 3 Grammy Awards and 5 MTV Music Video Awards. In addition to his rap career, DMX also has starred or played supporting roles in 8 films. He has acting credits in several direct-to-DVD movies and made a cameo in the film Top 5 in 2014. In 2002, DMX released his autobiography entitled Earl, the autobiography of DMX, and that's E.A.R.L. And now let's talk about his personal life and controversy. He shared, "My father never called me on my birthday or helped raise me at all. The only time that his father, who is an artist, came around was when he had to sell paintings in New York City. He believed his mom, who was 19 years old when she became pregnant with him, didn't know how to love him." He said in a GQ article, "Children don't come with a effing instruction manual. I have 4 sisters. I'm the only boy. Maybe she didn't know what to do with me." Their relationship was overshadowed with physical and emotional torment, was strained even further when a judge ruled that his mother was incapable of caring for him. By the age of 10, he'd been expelled from school for fighting and throwing chairs at teachers and was arrested twice for arson and assault. Time behind bars would become his life. He was ultimately ordered into the rehabilitative custody of the Julia Dyckman Andrews Memorial Children's Home in Yonkers, which was about 20 minutes away from the 1-bedroom apartment he shared with his mom and sisters for an 18-month stay. He reportedly was kicked out of the facility for allegedly starting a fire with his roommate, according to the 2011 music and faith fusion tone Hip Hop Redemption, Finding God in the Rhythm and the Rhyme. He was returned to his mother and soon began to run away to escape her abuse and rotating door of stray boyfriends. He would sleep in Salvation Army clothing bins and befriend stray dogs. As mentioned earlier, this is the inspiration behind the iconic dog barks. Despite their problematic past, Simmons and his mother have since made amends. And as I mentioned in the beginning, she was at the Vigil with him and has been by his side since he has been hospitalized. In 1999, DMX tied the knot with Tashira Simmons. The couple remained married for 11 years and had 4 children, who I mentioned earlier: Xavier, Tacoma, Praise, Mariella, and Sean. And Tashira announced their separation in 2010. During their marriage, DMX was not faithful, and DNA tests confirmed that he fathered at least 2 children as a result of these extramarital affairs. Once DNA results proved that DMX fathered Monique Wayne's son in 2007, he was ordered to pay $1.5 million in child support. And as I mentioned earlier, he is the father of 15 children. His youngest child, Exodus Simmons, was born to his fiancée, Desiree Lindstrom, on August 16, 2016. DMX has been open about his addiction to crack cocaine. He shared in a powerful interview with Talib Kweli on the People's Party podcast in November 2020, his journey to drug addiction. And he is quoted as saying, referring to the Ready Ron guy, he passed the marijuana blunt around and I hit the blunt. I never felt like this before. It effed me up. I later found out that he laced the blunt with crack. Why would you do that to a child? Simmons questioned during the emotional interview. He was like 30 and he knew I looked up to him. Why would you do that to someone who looks up to you? If you ever heard DMX's song titled Pain, the lyric speaks to his experience. And so some of those lyrics go, I smoked crack at 14 for the first time, given to me by an N-word that I idolized. My love is real, but after that, what I saw in his eyes was a snake, and who I love was just a disguise. In 2016, he was found unresponsive, DMX, unresponsive in a Ramada Inn parking lot in Yonkers. First responders resuscitated him, and he was given Narcan before being rushed to the hospital. Police found no illegal substances on the property. However, a witness said DMX ingested some type of substance before collapsing. DMX has maintained that it was caused by an asthma attack. And of course, a life with this much trauma has its legal and financial problems. And so DMX has been incarcerated several times. His multiple arrests have been for resisting arrest, animal cruelty, reckless driving, unlicensed driving, drug possession, identity falsification, among other offenses. In late July 2013, DMX filed for bankruptcy in a Manhattan court. In this filing, DMX claimed to have roughly $50,000 in assets and somewhere between $1 million and $10 million worth of debt to various creditors. He cited child support obligations as his priority claim. His debts included $1.24 million in child support. DMX's attorney released a statement that explained these debts have restricted the rapper from obtaining a passport for many years. DMX hoped to be able to restructure his debts so he could begin performing overseas again, where he still has an active fan base. The filing was challenged and eventually dismissed later that year by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Manhattan. In 2017, DMX was charged with 14 counts of tax fraud for a total of approximately $1.7 million. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison for tax evasion in March 2018. He was released in January 2019, but at the time of his release, he still owed $2.3 million to the IRS. The government will garnish his income until the debt is paid, and he is expected to make monthly payment installments. And then going back to the Iyanla Van Zant show, or the Iyanla Van Zant intervention on Fix My Life, which took place in 2013, the Iyanla actually mentioned to DMX that many people in his life feared that he could one day die, or he could die in any day. He replied, "I don't care about what people are concerned with. If I drop dead right now, I will have fulfilled the purpose that God had me do." While he responded, while discussing his then fraught relationship with his first child, a son named Xavier, he also said he doesn't want a relationship. You don't know him. I've known him his whole life, saying that Xavier, I guess was just doing this for clout, that he really wasn't interested in having a relationship with his dad. In 2019, as I previously mentioned, he was released from prison after serving less than a year behind bars for tax evasion. And since DMX has been candid about his faith and the role that faith has played in his self-care, Kanye West invited him, to be a part of the Sunday service performance at Coachella, which happened in April that year on Easter Sunday. And he had DMX deliver a prayer, and it was a very powerful, passionate prayer. And so the people that were there and those of us that were watching online were really blessed by that. And so, of course, now that all of this has happened, all the accolades and the, prayers were going out on social media. And so the one that stood out the most to me came from rapper LL Cool J. And he posted a video of DMX's verse on his song titled 4321. And so he thought it was fitting because the news, we all found out that he had suffered a heart attack on April 3rd of 2021. And so in his post, LL Cool J put the 4/3/21 and was like, I just thought that was like how, just how things, the universe aligns and these type of things happen. And so as the days have passed, the story seems to have faded from trending topics, while others, other people in the rap game or rap legends, they're bringing light to the dark situation and saying, hey, don't let this just come and go. Let's let positive change or make positive change, implement positive change in the rap industry, that when we know we have an artist that's struggling, with drug addiction, that, we have something in place to help them out and make sure, that they get the treatment and support that they need. So in an interview with Page 6 this week, DJ Funkmaster Flex says that DMX's friends in the music industry should have done more to help the ailing rapper. He says that industry insiders knew about his drug demons and did nothing about it. He was quoted as saying, "The music business is a gorilla. It's a bottomless pit of happiness or depression. I don't want to say people don't help you, but I do want to say there are people who actually know when a star is struggling, but don't help sometimes. You don't always get the best help when money is being made. It's rough for someone like a DMX who may be in a mental and emotional state of childhood trauma that has happened to him, and then being thrown in the money and fame." He closed out by saying, "I know he shares his demons, and we may have to amplify that demon and amplify his story and his feelings so that the next generation can kind of see a little better, a little clearer." And Flex admits he's really frustrated by celebrities, so-called friends who post on social media in troubled times, but don't lend their support when it counts. And he was quoted as saying, "People can find the picture that they have with the person that's going through a tragedy in 30 seconds, but you haven't called the person in 10 years. Let me see the picture of you when you went afterwards to his house because you were so concerned. I never see that picture where they go to the house. Nipsey Hussle passed away and every washed up rapper made a pilgrimage to LA to go to the Marathon store to take a picture or to get their card swiped. Bro, Nipsey needed that support when he was alive." And so it's heartbreaking to know and understand the life that Earl Simmons lived, but he was unapologetic and wanted to share his experiences in hopes it could help someone else. He said to Kweli in the 2020 interview that I talked about earlier in this piece that letting some of this stuff out has helped. "I really don't have anyone to talk to about it because growing up in the hood, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody even wants to help with talking, but talking is actually one of the brave things you can do. One of the bravest things you can do is let it out." And then Mogul Master P, he chimed into the conversation on a recent interview and stated that DMX is an icon, and I just hate that we have to wait till something happens to one of these guys or to one of us before everybody really starts saying how much they care and they love you. I mean, we ought to figure out how to prevent that. Drugs done killed a lot of our great ones and sent a lot of them to prison. And I am praying for DMX and his family. And I hope that people start celebrating these icons while they're alive. Imagine all the stuff we could have prevented for DMX to help him. He went on to state that the music industry needs programs and policies similar to the NBA to help these artists. I feel like hip hop needs some type of union. The NBA have it. What happens when a guy fall off? After he done sold millions of records, even a female, what happens? Think about it. The NBA, when they done, they go to Sports Center. They can sit around. Where do hip hop go? Go back to the hood. And then that's where, all the trauma started and in most cases continues. And then singer Demi Lovato, who has struggled with her own drug issues and almost passed away in 2018, from a drug overdose. She said that there's times I felt like feeling survivor's guilt. You do ask yourself, why am I still here? Why are others not? It's challenging. I have to realize that every day is a day that someone else doesn't get that second chance that she got. And so she was lamenting over, what is going on with DMX. And so in conclusion, We'll never know the number of lives that DMX saved because of his openness and honesty. And I know that there are people that are watching this right now like, well, why are you sharing all this? Why are you telling all his business? Why are you telling all this negative, saying all these negative things about him? And it's because this is the totality of his life. Our life usually goes in the direction, when you look at it this way with my rose bushes. So when I plant a rose bush, depending on where in my yard I have planted that rose bush, depends on the direction it's going to grow and what time of day that it gets the sun. And so in my backyard, those roses get the sun first, so they grow towards the south. In my front yard, I have roses on the west corner of my lot, and they grow west because they get the last of the sun throughout the day. And so it's like that with a child, where they're planted in life determines how they'll grow, what opportunities they have, what positive things, what negative things, a culmination of them make who we are. And unfortunately, in DMX's case, there was more negative in the beginning of his life that eventually guided and directed where he ended up 50 years later. And, as he said his own self, that he has been blessed. He was blessed that despite all his obstacles, he still, was able to accomplish all the things that he wanted to accomplish in life. And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to say that. There are a lot of gifted and talented people who didn't have the beginning that DMX had, who still have not accomplished their dreams, still haven't utilized the opportunities that God has given them, to hone their craft. And I tell people all the time, we know the Kobe Bryants, we know the Michael Jordans and the LeBron James, but guess what? For every Michael Jordan, every Kobe Bryant, every LeBron James, there's 1,000 other kids on a play lot somewhere in America that's 10 times better than all of them, who never got the opportunity for whatever reason, never got the chance, never had somebody get behind them and push them and promote them and support them to greatness. And DMX, despite his beginnings, despite having a friend betray him and get him addicted to drugs, he still accomplished way more than a lot of other people with ambitions and dreams of becoming a great rap artist. And so for that, we give thanks, we give thanks and we give God the glory that despite all he went to, he still was able to fulfill his dream. And so, in his shows, he always prayed, and despite his downfalls, he had a relationship with God. And at the end of the day, that is the most important thing, is that he knew God and God knew him. So he's an imperfect man in an imperfect world that celebrates your talent, mock your downfalls, and silence your weaknesses. And so no matter the outcome, Earl Simmons used his persona DMX to impact the world. And we all will have our date with destiny. The total sum of who we are and the legacy we leave behind will be comprised of the good and the bad and the sad and the happiness. But most important, how we overcame the dark moments and touched the lives of others is what will be remembered. And that is what matters. So guys, that's it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we will continue to keep DMX and his family and his children, his mom, his fans and supporters in our prayers. And it appears that, it's all in God's hands right now. And just pray that God will leave his family to do what they feel is best for him in this moment. So I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.